श्याम तेरी बंशी बजे धीरे धीरे, श्याम तेरी बंशी बजे धीरे धीरे, श्याम तेरी बंशी बजे धीरे धीरे, श्याम तेरी बंशी बजे
ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै सदायै कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरकृष्णे नमः। आनंद लीलामय विग्रहाय हेमाम्बितिविश्वविसुन्दराय तस्मै महाप्रेम रसप्रदाय चैतन्यचन्द्राय नमो नमस्ते। वागीश्वरस्य वन्दे लक्ष्मीर्यस्य वक्षसि यस्यस्ति हृदये संवित् तं नरसिंहं भजे। इतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंह यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह पहे नरसिंह हृदय नरसिंह नरसिंह माधव शरणं प्रपद्ये। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
What is so? Boss is going to steal my clothes. Then you have to pay me $40. No, it's cheap, $20. But I accept. Okay. Recently, I was in India for a great occasion which was being celebrated all over the world. That's Guru Purnima. Every sampradaya in the world, they worship their respective Gurudevs on this special day, Guru Purnima. It's a very, very important and special. And there were a lot of Harikatha. It happened, a lot of Harikatha there. Many programs and many speakers were speaking on Guru Tattva. A question was being raised. A teacher teaching in a school, a professor in a university, a driving teacher, or one who teaches cooking, and any other arts we learn in our life, how to do business, how to work, and there is always a mentor. Can all these personalities term as gurus? The answer is no. They are teachers. They are not gurus. Because guru means, the definition of guru is, along this words, Gu shab andakarasya guru tab avrodaka. Andakar avrodak guru iti shabda. Gu means darkness. And Ru means one who dissipates that darkness. So, is the teacher in the school who dissipates the darkness? Or a car driving school who dissipate the darkness of our life? No, they are teaching us. In all the areas, we get teachers, even in cooking. So these personalities can't be termed as guru. But one who imparts the knowledge. What knowledge? Transcendental knowledge. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. Prema Bhakti Jahite Avidya Vinasha Jate. Vede Gaye Jaha Charite. One who imparts or one who gives the knowledge of Prema Bhakti, that person is called Guru. Means spirituality. One who is leading us to live a spiritual life and give spiritual knowledge. That person is called Guru. So it does not apply to anyone who teaches us. It's only applied, reserved for those who are divine personalities, who is showing us this path of spiritual world, the path of bhakti. That person is called Guru. There are many processes. The process of karma, the process of yoga. They also have gurus. But because the bhakti get contaminated or get mixed if we add some other processes in this pure sublime bhakti. Understand? Try to understand this. Karma and jnana and yoga, all these are mixtures to bhakti. But if we are following the footsteps of our Guru Parampara, following the footsteps means following their theory, following their ideology, following their philosophy, then we are known as followers. Understand? At least in the beginning stage, following the theology, their theory, because they clearly explaining the definition of bhakti. So serving food to the birds on the street, someone can call this as bhakti, devotion. Devotion to whom? To birds. In India there are so many people who feed dogs in the streets, cats. And they say, oh, this is devotion, this is bhakti. Or, helping people, homeless people, this is devotion. Helping blind school is devotion. These are called help and supports. But this is not called devotion. This word devotion is restricted and reserved only for the Lord. No one else. When any human being or any living entity is the center of our help and support, our service, it can't be called as devotion. It is just helping. But devotion is reserved only to serve Krishna, Lord Shri Ram, Shri Narayan, Shri Krishna. That's called devotion. But nowadays, there is so much delusion. They apply this word to each and every areas. Like Guru, he taught me cooking 5 years back. She is my Guru. Or he taught me how to drive car. So he is my Guru. No. This word guru is reserved for only spiritual matters, not for any other learnings. Bhakti, devotion, is reserved only to please the Lord, not even it is meant to please one's mind or one's ideas. Even at that point, it is not called as bhakti. By doing some certain activities, it gives pleasure to my mind, and that's anything give pleasure to the mind is called entertainment. Entertaining the mind. Even at that point, it's not called bhakti or devotion. But when it is exclusively meant to serve or entertaining Krishna, then it's called bhakti. Entertaining the Lord is called bhakti. So when I say entertaining the Lord means singing for Him, speaking, hearing about Him, speaking about Him, worshipping Him, offering anything to Him. Offering what? Not only food types, not only fruits. These are certain ingredients we are supposed to offer, and Krishna told in Bhagavad Gita, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhakta prachati. I am not demanding much from you. Just offer me patram, tulasi, pushpam, flower, phalam, fruit, toyam, water. Just basic necessities. Patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam, yo me bhakta prachati. With love and devotion. This is one kind of offering. Then another level of offering is offering one's senses. How to offer one's senses? You see, these are formulas we need to practice on our daily basis. Even if we are sannyasi, brahmachari or grastha, whatever ashram we are in. Offering senses means just like Ambrish Maharaj. Sabe mana Krishna padar bunde, vacham shri vakunt gunan vande. He was engaging his tongue. How? By chanting the names of the Lord. He was engaging his tongue by honoring Krishna's prasad. You see on our face, the senses, they have only one function, one role. Eyes can only see, nose can only smell, ears can only hear. But mouth, tongue have two functions. Tasting Krishna's prasad, honoring Krishna prasad, and speaking. Two functions. Ambrish Maharaj, even though Grastha, king of entire world, but pure in nature, and he was offering all his senses in the service of the Lord. His tongue engaged in chanting the names of the Lord. He used to clean the temple with his own hands, not with his servants. Even though he was king, he appointed some ministers, some employees to take care of the kingdom, the affairs of the kingdom, but he himself was cleaning the temple with his own hands, engaging the utility of hands in cleaning the temple of the Lord. Then, how he is utilizing his head? By going down to the Lord. How is utilizing his feet? By going around the temple doing parikrama. But intent was kame cha dase na tu anya kam kame. The intent was to serve the Lord and then there is no other intent, no selfish or self-interest intent, only Krishna interest, entertaining Lord with one's senses. Therefore, we should judge ourselves every single day. how I'm engaging my senses, or am I engaging my senses in the service of God? Am I going down at least one time a day? Which is not enough. At least we are supposed to do 3 times. If not, at least minimum 2 times, morning and evening. Every house, an altar, we have Radha Krishna, God with I, Guru Parampara, morning and evening at least 2 times, going down, paying obeisances. All our Gurudevs, all our Acharyas. Because we got to know philosophy, or we got to know how to worship Krishna from them. So we are grateful to them. They have given us whatever they realized by performing sadhana for so many years, whatever they realized by serving their Guru Parampara for so many years. They're just giving us everything right on the plate in front of us. Okay, here it is. Go eat. Like Mataji's, they take so much pain going Apana Bazaar, not Tumhara Bazaar. It's Apana Bazaar, right? My Bazaar. It's my market. It's just great, 10 minutes walking. Getting vegetables from there, chopping, cooking, then offering. And what we get? Right on our table. Finished in 10-15 minutes. Tasting and relishing. Spicy, nice. So, all our Acharyas, Guru Parampara, all our Gurudevs, they work day and night, tirelessly, to serve the mission of Mahaprabhu, to serve their Gurudevs, working 16 hours, 18 hours, so much blood, sweat, to serve Guru. So what we have to do? Seeking the blessings. Seeking the blessings. Because there's a right path. Otherwise, there's going to be deviations. They're telling us not to follow the process of karma, not to follow the process of yoga, not to follow the process of jnana. Very soon, now it is Julan coming, swing past him. I think it's on Ekadashi, August 15th. Julan, when Radha Krishna sit on swing. And already it's rainy season, in India is already Sawan. And many temples, devotees, they sing the swing pastimes of Radha Krishna. But that day is also Disappearance Day of Sri Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami, the founder of explaining what is bhakti. And therefore, he gave a great definition of bhakti. If we don't hear or learn this verse, we can never ever understand what is pure bhakti. And that was a favorite verse of our Srila Guru. What is that verse? Yes. Anya Vilashita Shunyam. Hello? Robert? How many likes you got on your recent Insta? Remember that? Not watching? Anya Vilashita Shunyam Gyan Karmadya Navitam Anukulena Krishna Shunyam Bhakti Ruttam. Radha know this verse? No one knows this verse? You knew this before. You're forgetting. What is the meaning, essence? Even if you don't know the verse. विलासिता शून्यम ज्ञान कर्मादनामृतम आनुकूलेन कृष्णं शून्यम भक्ति उत्तम. Pure bhakti means what? First of all, the question comes: we want to follow pure bhakti or mixed bhakti? We want ordinary food or organic food? What is better? What is more expensive? Organic apple will be like $20. Simple, ordinary, basic apple is maybe $5. Why organic is so expensive? Okay, what is the difference between organic and a simple food? Simple apple. Akash, what's the difference? How are you going to explain to someone this is organic and this is simple, basic? What makes that organic? Why it is so expensive? Kumarji?
Who's trying to explain the meaning of Anyan Jasmine? We should not have any other desire except serving Krishna.
Answer this question. Why organic is expensive? And what makes the organic so special? Organic means there is no pesticides and there is no toxins, right? It's natural. That's why it's expensive. Whereas all others are some chemicals and all that. That means mix. That is mixture. But organic is pure. So that means bhakti also have mixtures. If I put my self-interest in that bhakti, that's not called pure bhakti. If I put the process of jnana to get merged in the Lord, that kind of moves, then it's also not organic pure bhakti. If I add yoga in that bhakti or karma in the bhakti, these are called mixed bhaktis, deviated bhaktis. Process is deviated, mixture. But Rupa Goswami, I'm not saying this, Rupa Goswami is giving the definition of pure bhakti. Bhakti uttama. Uttama means pure bhakti. When it is pure bhakti, anya vilashita shunyam. When the endeavors are having no any other inferior desires. Anya vilashita shunyam. Shunyam means zero. Nothing. Devoid of any other desires. And then bhakti also jnana karmad anavritam. Jnana karma yoga adi anavritam means not touched by these. Understanding this? Remember this verse on August 15th. Acharya Shri Rupa Goswami. All the philosophy, all other Goswamis are followers, all our Gurudevs are followers of Rupa Goswami. And in his book Bhakti Sam Sindhu, he is giving very refined definition of Bhakti. The book he wrote is Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. That means ocean of Bhakti Ras. How deep is the ocean? The length and breadth of the ocean? Can anyone measure that? No. Similarly, he is giving explanation of bhakti. So read if you have this. Even if you don't have this, you can get online. Bhakti Rasama Sindhu. Those who want to study what is bhakti means, he is giving so vast details. And he begins with explaining what is pure bhakti. Because he is not there to define what is mixed bhakti. We are not here to discuss what is mixed bhakti. We are here to discuss what is Shuddha, pure bhakti, Uttama bhakti. No mixture there. This is the point where he starts with Anya Vilashita Shunyam. The bhakti devoid of any other desires other than the desires to serve Krishna. Try to understand this. is not saying one should have no desires. If you have no desire, then we are not even human beings. Human beings means we have desires. We are not inert, we are not matter. We are living beings. We have desires. We have desire to eat, we have desire to sleep, we have desire to go around, work, etc. So, is he saying divide of all desires? If you say divide of all desires, that means we can't live, we can't exist. But he's saying anya vilashita shunyam. The word ta here means one should have desires. But those desires which are there to serve Krishna, one should welcome those desires, one should cultivate those desires, one should get inspired for those desires. But other than the service to Krishna, all other desires are mixture. Very straight, we can judge in our daily practices. No need to point to he, she or whoever. It serves judgment. One should be divide in of desires other than service of Krishna. There should not be even 0.1. It has to be 0. But anya vilashita, the word ta here means one should have desires, but those desires one should be there to entertain the senses of the Lord, not to entertain my own senses. Even at the point of singing, we sing many bhajans. So no need to get disappointed because we have different levels. When you go to kindergarten, then you go grade 1, we are always learning from one level to other level to other level. It's not that when you are in high school, 10th grade, 11th grade, you say, oh, the first grade is just useless. Because now you learn so much, you are on another level. But everyone starts with grade 1, right? From A, B, C, D. Everyone starts from there, then goes to higher level. So the one who is a higher level can't say the other levels are useless. Because that's the beginning. This is the beginning part. So it's a learning process. We are beginners. And because we are beginners, we should think we are beginners. You understand? We are supposed to think we are beginners. We are not supposed to think, oh, we are now learned and we are teachers. That's the problem comes. There's a problem comes. Learning little bit, and even that is not pure in nature, and one start thinking, now I'm a teacher. My Gurudev used to say, I'm still a student, even in that higher level. Doesn't matter, if you pass high school, you can say, now I've achieved everything. No, there is another level. You have to go college. When you pass out college, that's not enough. You have to get masters. That's another level. And PhD, thesis. Deep study on one particular topic. You know, this PhD is even for apple, fruits, PhD in singing, PhD in instruments. I was shocked when I heard. My teacher, who used to teach me instruments when I was young, he was a professor in college. I thought he's just teaching some subject. And I asked, what is your subject? He said, oh, my subject is sitar, the instrument. I've done master's, PhD in sitar. What is there to learn in that? In one topic, complete mastery in one topic. Means he's from A to Z is familiar with the ragas, strings, all details. Going more deep and deep and deep into that knowledge for that one particular topic and subject. It's called masters. And spiritual masters means they are so deep into their subject of spirituality. Means bhakti. So anya vilashita shubha. What I was saying? Paying attention or not? What I was saying? No? Huh? First thing was it? So anya vilashita shunyam. Serving, entertaining the senses of the Lord. That's called pure bhakti. Anya vilashita shunyam. Gyan karmadya anavritam. Then bhakti, which is not covered with gyan karmadya. Gyan, the process of gyan, means those who cultivating that knowledge. I want to cultivate gyan, knowledge. What is that knowledge here means? The gyan here is divided into three sections, three parts. Tat padarth, tom padarth, jeev brahm ek ke gyan. All knowledge is not wrong or bad, but there is some knowledge which is absurd. The knowledge about self, one is bona fide. Tom padarth, who am I? What is my relationship with Lord? How many times I have to take birth and I will die? This is called art of not living. It's called art of dying. That was also one of my lectures recently. And in present age, there's some people, they're teaching art of living. How to live a good life. What is this art about living? This is natural. Even trees knows this. Even birds they know. Even animals, aquatics, they know very well how to live. We human beings, we don't know how to live nicely. Who's teaching birds? They eat before sunset and they go to sleep the next day. They get up in early morning. Who's teaching them? Even if there is a storm, they get to know before us because of wind and all that. Which school they are going to learn this? They are not getting into any school to learn art of living. And because our lifestyles got distorted, so people have to learn how to live. Because they forgot how to live. But Vaishnava philosophy describes art of dying. Means live in such a way to have a glorious death. Not ordinary, simple. Living body like animals or birds or aquatics. Living body to live a life, to have the best life, best upcoming life. Living, everyone knows. To eat 2-3 times a day, to fill belly, how to sleep, how to decorate, how to take shower. Basics, everyone knows. How to entertain one's mind, art of living. But very rare schools teach how to art of dying. Only spiritual school teaches this. Because that's the greatest wonder of the world. This question was being asked 5,000 years back to Yudhishthira Maharaj. what is the greatest wonder of the world? And he didn't say Niagara Falls or Taj Mahal and all that. He did not say Niagara Falls and all. He didn't mention about Taj Mahal, or Great Wall of China. He said, Ahani ahani bhutani yamalyam gachanti shesh thavri chanti kim ashcharan bhavai. The answer to this question, Yudhishthira Maharaj said 5,000 years back. We see, we hear, with our ears, with our eyes we see, oh, this person is gone, that person is gone, my family member is gone, my friend is gone. But I don't believe that I'm also going to leave this world. That's the greatest wonder. He answered this for past, present and for future. It's the greatest wonder. We don't believe we're going to. I don't believe. I think I'm immortal. I'm not going to tell my age. I turned 35, maybe 33. Yeah, 33. This year I'm turning 34. Why you guys laughing at me? Don't trust me, don't believe me?
Because everybody knows.
No, they're laughing because Mari, you don't look that old. You're saying too much. Okay, 23, that's fine. Thank you. 23 years old. That's for you, bro. Multiply by 4 for you. Shesh Thavari Chanti. But we don't believe that we're going to leave this world. That's the greatest wonder. This is art of spirituality. Begins with here. So that bhakti which is pure, organic, no mixture. So what kind of mixture there? Gyan karmati anavritam. The mixture of the process of gyan. And I was explaining gyan means the knowledge of self. This is essential, important to know. Tat Padarth Gyan. Who is Krishna? How he look like? What is his nature? What he likes? What he dislikes? To know about details of Krishna, this knowledge is good. One should know this. Who am I? Very important to know this. But to get merged into the Lord, the process which explains us how a jiva can merge into Lord, this gyan is a covering on bhakti. It makes bhakti mix, not pure in nature. The process of gyan, the process of karma. Karma means recycling. Recycling? Use plastic bags, recycle it. So process of karma is also like this. Worshipping Lord to get some material benefits fulfilled by Him. In other sense, bribing Him. I'm giving you some dollars. Please look into my file. Look into my system. Look into my file. Get this thing done, please, for me. Okay, this thing is done for you. $100. Again next week, another 5. Then another 5. Another 5. Gyan karmati amritam. The mixture of yoga, the process of yoga, Ashtanga yoga. These are coverings on bhakti, which is not termed or called pure bhakti. So what is the definition of pure bhakti? What is definition of pure bhakti? So original bhakti and duplicate bhakti. Xerox. How we get Xerox? There has to be an original document and the imitation of that original document is called Xerox. So Xerox imitation has no existence unless there is something original is present. You can't create Xerox out of nowhere. Xerox means there has to be an original document and then you made an imitation of that. So karma, jnana and yoga, these are imitations. These are coverings on bhakti. Rupa Goswami strictly describing in this book, the very first verse he described the definition of bhakti. We are here to learn about bhakti, we are here to do bhakti, we are here to do bhakti to please the Lord. But one should know what is bhakti. So read this book. Then all other coverings, all other ignorance get destroyed. Otherwise, with my whimsical mind, I can assume or believe this is bhakti, what I am doing is bhakti, I am feeding birds is bhakti. Oh, they are made by the Lord. The birds are made by Lord, creation of the Lord. By feeding birds, I am serving Lord. Yes, you are serving Lord, but indirectly. Whereas we are told to serve Lord directly. So never put these coverings on bhakti. Ashtanga yoga. In many places in Bhagavad Gita, there is karma yoga, there is bhakti yoga, and there is jnana yoga. Understand? How many chapters in Bhagavad Gita? 18 chapters. The first 6 chapters describe what? Karma yoga. The next 6 set of chapters describe what? Bhakti yoga. Then the next 6 chapters describe jnana yoga. Kept bhakti in between, in the middle of karma and jnana. Bhakti is in the middle. Why in the middle? Krishna is very smart. Is he intelligent or not? Little more intelligent than us? Maybe a little bit. A little bit, right? Is a source of knowledge. Is a source of intelligence. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Ye namam upyakti. He said, I supply the intelligence by which you can come to me. So when the good intelligence is coming to us, that is supplied by Krishna. Seeing our sincerity, our devotion, that bhakti yoga in the middle supports jnana and supports karma. That's why it is known as yoga. Karma yoga. Yoga means what? And this postures is called yoga. This is Sanskrit word. Yoga means what? What is the meaning of yoga? English बोलोगे या हिंदी बोलोगे? What is yoga? Adding on. Yoga. You don't know plus? What is plus means? Yoga. Those activities which are connecting us or adding us to the Lord. So Krishna is not speaking about karma. He is speaking about karma yoga. Those activities by which you can come to me. He is not preaching karma. He is preaching karma yoga. Yat karoshi, yat ajnashi. Krishna saying Bhagavad Gita, whatever you do, whatever you eat, offer unto me. That means yoga plus. Yoga means plus. Understand? That's karma yoga. Then jnana yoga. Jnana means knowledge. But it's not preaching about jnana. It's preaching about jnana yoga. Yoga is not just the postures of the body to maintain your figure or maintain your health. Yoga means add. If you know Sanskrit. Add, plus. Activities which can helps us adding, connecting to Krishna. And in the middle, he's speaking 6 chapters. He's speaking on Bhakti Yoga. So Karma, Gyan, Karmadi, Anavritam. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is preaching about Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. But Rupa Goswami is saying in Bhakti Swami Sindhu, Bhakti should not be mixed with Karma and Jnana, not Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga. You understanding my point? Don't get confused with Karma and Jnana and Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Not getting it. No? Too much philosophical? It's so simple. Yoga means plus, connection. So in Gita, Krishna is speaking about what? How you can get connected with me by performing your activities. Understand? He's not preaching about activities. He's preaching about how you can connect those activities with me. That's Bhakti. But what Rupa Goswami is saying, Anya Vilashita Shunyam Gyan Karmadya Anamritam. Don't mix bhakti with karma, jnana, yoga and all that. It's not bhakti then. These are weeds which hampers the development of the plant. So one has to uproot these weeds. And the third line, which is the most important, Anukulena Krishna Nushilanam. What is the meaning? Anukulena Krishna Nushilanam Bhakti Ruptam. Serving Krishna with favorable mood. Not just serving Krishna. You understand? Very vast detail of bhakti. Not just serving Krishna, but serving Krishna with favorable mood. 2 examples here. One example is when Krishna entered in the arena of Kamsa. Leave it. What's the problem? Just fine. He needs some background music. What I was saying? Don't respond. Krishna entered in the arena of Kamsa. There were 2 big wrestlers, like bouncers. You know bouncers? You have here? Please? No? Outside any restaurants? Big guys. Bouncers. They throw people out, those who don't have payments. And they are ready to fight. It's getting real loud now. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Wow, that is called meditation. If we chant, if we hear songs, bhajans, and if we can meditate like this, that no one can deviate us from our absorption during this kind of absorption. Anukulena Krishna Nushilanam. Activities which are favorable to Krishna. Now, very important point. Listen this carefully. Very important. When Krishna entered in the arena of Kamsa, there were 2 big monsters called Char Mushtik. What they call? Again, what they call? Charu Mushtik. 2 big wrestlers. Huge body, like a hill. They came in front of Krishna and Balram to have wrestling fight. And Krishna and Balram, how old were they? 10 years, 2 months, few days. Soft, tender young boys. And Charu Mushtik big wrestlers. And they grabbed Krishna and Balram. They were giving hug to him. Or very warm, loving embrace to him. The intent was to crush them, kill them. So while they doing so, Krishna was enjoying this. Why is he enjoying? Because Krishna has so much strength, he is also very powerful. So when two wrestlers or equal potency, equal strength, when they fight, they enjoy the art of fight. They enjoy. So Krishna has so much strength. He is the source of all strength. Aishwarasya, Samagrasya, Virasya, Yasasya, Shriya. Gyan Vairagyasya. He is the source of all strength. So when Charu Mushtik embrace Krishna Balaram, Krishna extracting pleasure. So that means those wrestlers, they are giving pleasure to Krishna. That means they are doing bhakti. Tell me yes or no. Don't say quiet. Yes or no. Just yes or just no. They are giving pleasure to Krishna. That means they are doing bhakti. Yes. You are wrong. They are giving pleasure to Krishna, but the intent of them was to kill Krishna. How it can be called bhakti? How it can be called bhakti then? So any activity giving pleasure to Krishna is not bhakti unless it is been done, cultivated in the manner to serve in a favorable mood to Krishna. Just giving pleasure is not bhakti. The mood has to be favorable to Krishna. Okay, getting a little difficult. Your child, small baby, the small young babies, let's say they're getting some bacteria, diarrhea, vomit, they're just throwing up so much. What mother is going to do? Give medicines? And the child say, Mom, I want to eat that cake, I want to eat that pizza, and that burger, and French fries. Will mom give that? Getting so much vomit and diarrhea? Yes or no? Moms, Mataris? No. But oh, my child, she really want to eat French fries, even in that bad state of health. Mother will never do this. If mother is giving that, means only entertaining the child, but not concerned about his health, his or her health. So that is considered not devotion, not bhakti. Understand? On the other side, Yashoda Maya feeding Krishna her breast milk, and she saw the milk on the stove is boiling, is coming out. Yashoda Maya threw Krishna on the ground. Who's more powerful, Krishna or Mother Yashoda? Who's more powerful? Krishna is more powerful. Yashoda Maya threw Krishna like this on the ground. She has more power than Krishna. What is that strength Yashoda Maya has? Her motherly affection. No matter how much powerful a person is, but affection and love has more strength and more potency than the physical potency. Affection. With love and affection, one can easily conquer anyone, can control anyone. But with strength, you can't. So Yashoda Maya throwing Krishna on the ground and running to save the milk, boiling, coming out from the coming on the stove. So that making Krishna cry and weep. That means Mother Yashoda, she is displeasing Krishna. That displeasing Krishna is called bhakti or not? That called bhakti or not? Yes or no? Why everyone is blank here? You're hearing these kathas from years. Is bhakti or not? Another one? Yes. This is bhakti. Displeasing Krishna is bhakti? Yes. How come? Externally appears that it's displeasing to Krishna. But the intent of Mother Yashoda is, the love of Mother Yashoda is, the mood is favorable to Krishna. He can drink my breast milk later on. But if this milk is going to get into stove, into fire, how am I going to make sweets for Krishna with this milk? I have to make sandesh and many other sweets for Krishna. How am I going to do that? So, displeasing Krishna is bhakti, and pleasing Krishna by those wrestlers is not bhakti, because the intent of wrestlers were unfavorable to Krishna. The intent of Mother Yashoda is not unfavorable. Why not unfavorable? Krishna, Yashoda Maya, she twists the ears of Krishna. She takes cane in her hand to beat Krishna. You know, once upon a time, it's a funny story. Yashoda Maya, she made so many nice ladus with milk and ghee and offered to her shaligram. You know shaligram? How shaligram look like? Not telegram or Instagram. Shaligrams. Yeah, offering ladus to shaligram. And she chanted mantras, and then she is busy in her household affairs. Krishna came. He said, oh, this shaligram eating so many sweets. How sweet shaligram is. If shaligram is eating so many laddu, that means shaligram is more sweet than laddus. Then what Krishna did? Instead of eating laddus, he took shaligram and put in his mouth. So shaligram, you eating so many laddus, that means you are more sweeter than laddu. He ate this. And after a while, Yashoda Maya came to get the prasadam. And she saw, where is shaligram gone? Where is shaligram? Where is my Lord? Only laddus are here. Shaligram is absent. And Krishna is sitting there. Like this. When Yashoda asks, Krishna, Kanhaiya, have you seen my shaligram? He said, mouth full. Are you eating laddu? So, how long you been here? You not seen my shaligrams? So why are you not speaking? Is laddu in your mouth? Then what is in your mouth? Krishna opened his mouth. Shaligram. And Mother Yashoda, she twisted the ears of Krishna and tried to slap her. You eating shaligram? Why? Krishna said, Maya, I was thinking, shaligram eating so many sweets all day and night. How sweet is shaligram? I want to eat him. But actually, who is shaligram? Krishna himself, right? In this way, when he is doing naughty activities, Mother Yashoda also chastised Krishna. And if those wrestlers are also chastising Krishna by wrapping their arms on Krishna and wants to kill them, then what's the difference between Yashoda and the wrestlers? What's the difference? Big difference. The wrestlers want to kill Krishna, want to see Krishna dead. Is Yashoda Maya ever think of this? My Kanhaiya, my Krishna dying? When Krishna jumped into Jamuna to slay Kaliya, that snake, with thousands of hoods, when Yashoda Maya heard this, she ran towards Jamuna to throw herself in waters of Jamuna. Because if Krishna is not there, then what's the use of my life? She is ready to give her life for Krishna. And Charu Mushtik wrestlers, they want to take the life of Krishna. This is bhakti. Anya vilashita shunyam gyan karmand namritam anupulena Krishna nushidanam. The most important line is the bhakti which is cultivated with a favorable mood to please Krishna. Favorable mood, not unfavorable mood. Rojmana pravitti means it is not that what Krishna likes is bhakti, but it is what is good for Krishna is bhakti. Krishna likes so much. He also likes to be in the coils of the snake. But the snake is not doing bhakti by giving pleasure to Krishna. Because there is no selected mood or favorable mood when the Kaliya coiled Krishna. No. But if Yashoda Maya embraces Krishna, or even if she chastises Krishna, that is for good for Krishna. So anything for good for Krishna is called bhakti. It's a very fine line to understand. Therefore, if we are not reading those books, we cannot understand what is pure bhakti. And whatever our mind entertains us, we start assuming, I am doing bhakti. If it is aligned with the words of Rupa Goswami, the words of Acharyas, the words of Krishna, if it is aligned, that is called bhakti. If it is not aligned, then it is your mind concoction, and this is your mind entertainment. I start believing I am doing bhakti. But tomorrow I can stand outside, hey, I am the next president of the country. Who can stop my words or my wishes or my mind urges? No one can say. Yeah, people passing by will say, yeah, another crazy person. Give him some food. He's shouting, I'm the next president of the country. Give him some food, Baba. He needs something. He got dehydrated. Give some water. Means he's another cuckoo. He's another crazy person. So this is bhakti. Try to read the scriptures as explained by our Srila Gurudev. This is called celebrating Guru Purnima. Not just, oh, it's a special day and a day to worship Shri Gurudev. So I offer 2 flowers at his feet. I offer some sweets. Many people, they don't even do that. They're not even familiar what is Guru Purnima. They don't even do that. There's the basics. Not even basics. There's the basics. To offer at least 2 flowers to your Gurudev, who has given you so much. Who has given you mantras, who has given you knowledge, who has given you all directions. Can't you just offer 2 flowers on that day? Or just little sweets? And just a wish? Or showing one's gratitude? Not even basics. That is very basics. But actual Guru Purnima is by understanding this philosophy given by Rupa Goswami. To understand what is meaning of bhakti. First to understand what is meaning of bhakti, then started following the process of bhakti. So understanding and following is 2 different processes, 2 different directions. Anukulena Krishnamshi. Just like if you heard the story of elephant Gajendra caught, the crocodile caught the foot of Gajendra. Elephant, right? Heard this before? The alligator is dragging the elephant in pond, in waters. And Gajendra fighting for his survival. Then with his trunk, he offered a flower to the Lord, seeking not just his protection. He is not asking for his protection. But in that point of danger of his life, he is seeking the association of the devotees. Can you imagine how glorious? This is called art of dying. It's not art of living. Prior to that, he was having art of living. He was having hundreds of wives, she elephants, and many children, many babies. But that was art of living. But now Gajendra, while in waters, dying, alligator dragging him, pulling him in water. Gajendra elephant is teaching us art of dying. So he's not seeking protection from the Lord by offering a flower to the Lord. What he's doing? is seeking the association of the devotees. एकांत व्यस्तन कंचनार्थो वंशन्ति यावि भगवत प्रपन्ना अति अद्भुत चरित्र सुमंगलम गायन्ति आनंद समृद्ध. The Lord, please give me association of your devotees who are always constantly glorifying you, glorifying Bhakti. I put their association. This is what he is asking at the point of dying. It's called art of dying. Then the Lord appeared, riding on his carrier, Garuda, 8 arms, carrying all the weapons, sword, bow, arrow, all that weapons, and throw the chakra to simulate the head of crocodile, the alligator. But the alligators, he wanted to say a few words. He said, wait a minute, Lord, wait a minute. You're killing me, I understand. But I want to know one fact. Whom are you going to bless first? Your devotees or one who catch hold the feet of your devotees? The Lord said, very good question. Answer to your question is, I'm going to bless my devotees later, but I'm going to bless those who catch hold the feet of my devotees first. I'm going to bless them first. Then the alligator said, then what wrong I'm doing? I'm also catching hold of feet of your devotee. Isn't Gajendra your elephant your devotee? Yes. So I'm catching hold his feet. So why are you not blessing me? You are in fact killing me. Then the Lord replied, this is the procedure, this is the way to catch feet of my devotee. You're killing my devotee. So just catching feet is not bhakti. But touching and catching the feet of devotee with favorable mood is called bhakti. You understand? Oh Gurudev, you're pure devotee. And catch his feet and start dragging your feet. No, my son, leave my feet. No Gurudev, I'm going to drag you until my home and throw you in my bedroom. Like this. Dragging all the feet. Let the whole world see and catch what the feet of the pure devotee. Let everyone see this. Is this is favorable mood? No. It's unfavorable. So alligator who's holding the feet of Gajendra, is that called bhakti? You are touching the feet of a pure devotee, is called bhakti. If this is the way, you're killing the devotee. He's in danger, his life is in danger. Therefore, anukulena Krishna Mishrana, bhakti with a favorable mood, actually is called uttama bhakti, pure bhakti. When the mood is unfavorable, that's not bhakti. So those who follow the process of jnana, they also worship the deities. You see many ashrams. They follow the process of yoga, they follow the process of jnana, they also worship Krishna, Radha Krishna. Why they do so? Because they can't achieve their success unless they take shelter of the process of bhakti. They know this very well. Therefore, they also chant Hare Krishna. If you go to India, Haridwar, there are thousands of ashrams. Yes, Mataji? Mayavadis, Karnis, but they also have Radha Krishna Sitaram. They also chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, they also chant Jai Shri Ram. But what is the intent? Jnana. If you don't follow this process, we will not get achievement, success in our processes. They don't get this. So Krishna said, even though they offer flowers to me, but it appears to me they are offering what? Thorns to me. They're not flowers, they are thorns to me. It hurts me because their intent is so impure. They have self-interest and they're putting me in their interest. So, Anukulena Krishna Shirana Bhakti Uttama. This is called Bhakti. Because if there are offenses, then bhakti just goes from top to the low position. So in your sleep, there is no offenses. When you sleep, think you can't offend anyone. So that's a very pure process of bhakti. Paying obeisances. So, Anupujana, Krishna Krishna. So, if one is not doing offenses, that means one is doing bhakti. Okay, I came from India, take jet lag. No, I'm speaking myself. I don't want to offend anyone. I was sleeping like 4 hours. Straight 4 hours. I was sleeping. I was not even aware where I am. Totally like I'm in a coma. 4 hours. So that means I'm not offending anyone. If I'm in an awake situation, I can say something wrong to you, offend you, tease you. So that's offense. But if I'm just in me, like I'm sleeping, I'm not offending anyone. I'm in sleep. So that non-offensive state, can it also be called bhakti? No. It is also not bhakti. Bhakti is only when I'm doing something to the pleasure of Lord in favorable mood. Why I'm saying so? Because there are many sects in India. They preach, they believe, they preach, and they think they're doing bhakti. Just like Maun Vrata, the vow of silence. They don't speak for a year. They just quiet. Why? Oh, because if I open my mouth, I always, sometimes I speak about bhakti, sometimes I speak about Krishna, but many times I speak about general topics. So I'm taking this vow of silence. I'm not going to speak at all for a year. Is this called bhakti? No. I'm just controlling and taming my mind. That means I'm involved in that. Self-interest. There is no Krishna interest. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada said the ideal meaning of the vow of silence is 24 hours speak about Krishna. 24 hours speak about Krishna. What I said? Everyone. 24 hours speak about Krishna. No effect. No effect. That is called bhakti. 24 hours speaking about Krishna is called bhakti. If anyone take this vow, that's the best ideal meaning of the vow of silence. Because Krishna interest and Krishna center is there. But if I am not speaking anything, that means my self-interest is there. So anything mine is not bhakti, anything Krishna is bhakti. Understand? It is so refined, it is so refined. And one who teaches us this is called Guru. And if one is not teaching us this and teaching mixed bhakti or deviation bhakti, it's called Guru. Guru and Guru. You know Guru means? Guru means cow, animal, in Bengali language. Or kangaroo. You know kangaroo? Kangaroo? Kangaroo, Australian kangaroo. Kangaroo. Therefore, first of all, essential to know what is bhakti. And then practicing it. There's another line. So try to understand and learning all these facts and then trying to follow in the process. That's called Guru Purnima. Celebrating Guru Purnima, worshipping one's Guru and the lineage. That's the ideal way of serving Guru Purnima. Go Imam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, end up with one singing. 2 minutes, one more. Some new melody or the same one? The new one. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Radha Mata ji, where is Radha Mata? She's here. You have flowers? You have some loose flowers? Blessings to Mata ji. Please arrange that. So we will do some mangalacharana.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Mami, ito po kasi